There comes a moment in every man's life when the silence of his own inaction screams louder than the noise of the world. You know that moment? The moment when your heart whispers, "You were made for more," yet your body remains still. It is in that instant, when the gap between what you know and what you do becomes unbearable, that destiny waits, not for your intention, not for your wish, but for your action. Let me tell you something the timid souls will never understand. No man is ever ready when his purpose calls. Readiness is a mirage built by comfort. The truth is revealed only when you move, when you compel yourself forward despite the trembling of your spirit. The great unseen power that governs all progress responds only to movement. It will never meet you in hesitation. It meets you in motion. Abraham, force yourself to take action, not because it feels good, but because it feels right. The difference between the average man and the extraordinary one is not talent, luck, or opportunity. It is the willingness to act when every fiber of fear commands you to wait. The weak pray for confidence before they act. The wise act their way into confidence. Understand this divine law. The mind is a magnificent servant, but a dangerous master. When you delay, it will weave 1,000 illusions to justify your stillness. It will whisper tomorrow. It will tell you the time is not yet right. But there will never be a perfect time, for perfection belongs not to time, but to eternity. Act now. Act boldly. Act while the fire within still burns. Ibraquel. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is strength. When you act without being enslaved by the craving for results, you enter the realm of mastery. The man who acts with attachment is tossed by outcomes. His joy and sorrow rise and fall with circumstance. But the man who acts with purpose and detachment is free. He moves from a place of inner knowing, not outer approval. He does not act to be seen, he acts because he sees. Ibrahim. There is divine power in motion without emotion. It is the state where faith becomes visible. It is the silence of spiritual authority saying, "I trust the law of cause and effect, and I will plant this seed though I may not yet see the harvest." The detached soul acts from wisdom, not from want. He knows that his part is to move, and the infinite's part is to multiply. You have been given a will so powerful that it can bend reality itself when directed with clarity and persistence. Yet, most men abandon this gift for the comfort of excuses. They live imprisoned by hesitation, calling it patience. But patience without purpose is death disguised as peace. Do not wait for motivation. Motivation is the fruit of action, not the root of it. Every moment you resist your higher calling, you betray your own soul. You lose the sacred momentum of divine alignment. The truth is, each time you force yourself to act when you least feel like it, you declare to the universe, "I am in command of myself." And the univ. RSE responds in kind. Abrar, you must become so spiritually disciplined that emotion bows before purpose. The tides of fear, doubt, or fatigue may rise, but your will must remain unmoved. The greatest power a man can ever attain is the ability to act rightly when he feels wrongly. When you detach from emotion and choose principle over pleasure, you ascend from human reaction to divine creation. That is the difference between existing and becoming. Ibroke, do not seek comfort, seek clarity. Do not chase feeling, chase faith. The moment you force your hand to move, even against resistance, you awaken forces greater than flesh and circumstance. You send a signal to the infinite mind that you are ready to receive. And that infinite mind never denies the man who acts with conviction. Your results in life will always be in proportion to the number of times you acted when you least wanted to. Each time you do what must be done rather than what feels easy, you build invisible strength, the kind that cannot be taken, only developed. So when the moment of choice arrives, and it always does, choose movement. Choose obedience to purpose over surrender to emotion. You were not designed to drift, you were designed to direct. And the only way to direct your destiny is through disciplined action rooted in spiritual detachment. You will find that once you master yourself enough to act without emotional dependence, fear dissolves like mist before the sun. Doubt loses its authority. The world bends toward the one who moves forward without flinching, for he has already conquered himself. Force yourself to take action, not once, not twice, but until it becomes your nature, for in that persistence lies the secret door to power, to peace, and to purpose. You will know then that success is not something you pursue, it is something you permit when you act in harmony with divine law, and that law favors only those who move. Action is the language of faith. It is the sacred bridge between imagination and reality, between desire and fulfillment, between the unseen and the seen. Every great achievement that has ever existed began as a thought, yes, but thoughts alone are powerless until they are given motion. The infinite mind that designed the universe did not stop at conception. It moved into creation. It acted. Therefore, when you act, you align with the same divine force that formed galaxies, oceans, and life itself. Faith without action is merely a dream, but action born of faith is creation made visible. When you take action, you declare to the universe that you are no longer a spectator of life, but a co-creator with it. You reveal your belief not through words of hope, but through deeds of conviction. There are many who speak of their dreams, who pray for success, who meditate on abundance, but remain still when life demands movement. They forget that faith is not proven in comfort, but in courage. Faith is not the absence of doubt, it is the triumph over it. You will never know how much faith you truly possess until you are called to act when no evidence of success exists. That is where divine power meets human will. That is where the unseen begins to take shape through your obedience to action. The difference between the man who succeeds and the one who merely hopes lies not in opportunity, but in the willingness to move when others hesitate. You will never find a perfect moment to act because the perfect moment does not exist. It is created the instant you move. The universe does not wait for your comfort, it waits for your commitment. When you act decisively, even in the face of uncertainty, you send a signal to the infinite intelligence that you are ready to receive its power. That signal is not sent through emotion, but through execution. Faith demands proof, and the only proof it recognizes is action. You may say you believe in your vision, but until you take a step toward it, you are merely wishing. Wishes are for those who fear the price of creation. Faith is for those who pay it willingly, and the price is always the same: effort, risk, persistence, and discomfort. You cannot pray your way out of inaction. You must move your way into manifestation. Every time you force yourself to act despite fear, you are chiseling away the stone that hides your true potential. Each act of faith-driven courage reveals a layer of your divine design. You were not created to shrink before challenge. You were created to rise through it. The infinite placed within you the same power that turns a seed into a tree, a thought into invention, and a man into a legend. But that power remains dormant until you move. Action is the key that unlocks the vault of destiny. Do not mistake activity for action. Many people stay busy but go nowhere. True action is deliberate, focused, and aligned with purpose. It is not driven by emotion but by direction. When you act with faith, you do not chase results. You command them. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You become the cause of it. Life responds to the one who acts with conviction, because conviction is the vibration of creation. The universe is moved by certainty, not hesitation. When you hesitate, you communicate doubt to the very forces designed to assist you. But when you act, you speak the divine language of faith, and that language commands all creation to conspire in your favor. Action is not merely physical, it is spiritual. It is the soul's declaration that it trusts the unseen enough to move forward without assurance. Do not wait for the feeling of readiness. Feelings are deceptive. They follow motion, not precede it. You must act first, and then the feeling of readiness will come. The man who waits for courage will never act, but the man who acts will find courage within him. You do not need to feel brave to move. You need to move to feel brave. The mind will whisper lies of limitation. telling you that you must wait until the fear fades, until you have more knowledge. Until the path is clear. But the path clears only when you begin to walk it. Every act of courage draws the attention of the unseen powers that govern success. The moment you step forward in faith, doors begin to open, coincidences align, and help arrives from sources you could not have imagined. But those forces lie dormant until you move. The greatest tragedy is not failure, but paralysis, the slow death of potential buried under excuses and hesitation. Action is sacred because it transforms belief into being. It is the spiritual process through which thought materializes into form. When you act with unwavering faith, you prove to yourself that the power you seek is already within you. You stop begging the universe for signs and start becoming the sign yourself. Your movement becomes your prayer, your persistence becomes your praise, and your results become your revelation. There is divine wisdom in struggle. Every time you force yourself to act when you do not want to, you are refining the strength of your will. The human spirit is like steel. It grows stronger only under heat and pressure. The moment you step into discomfort, you summon the highest version of yourself. That is where faith becomes tangible. That is where the unseen hand of the infinite lifts you higher, for it recognizes the courage of the one who moves without sight. You must learn to act not because you feel inspired, but because you are committed. Inspiration fades, discipline endures. Emotion is fleeting, but decision is eternal. You must train your mind to obey the command of your purpose, not the cry of your comfort. The man who acts only when he feels like it will never rise above mediocrity. But the man who acts even when he feels broken becomes unstoppable. The truth is, every act of faith creates a new vibration in your life. It alters your energy, your direction, your destiny. You may not see the result instantly, but every effort plants a seed. The universe does not forget seeds sown in courage. They may remain hidden for a season, but they will bloom when the time is right. What matters most is that you continue to sow. Action is the divine test of faith. When you take that first step, when you push yourself beyond hesitation, you prove to life that you are serious about your purpose. You cannot claim to trust the infinite and refuse to move. True trust requires motion, for motion is the evidence of belief. So whenever fear tries to hold you still, remember this: the same power that breathes life into the stars flows through your veins. You are not weak, you are not waiting, you are becoming. Force yourself to act, and you will discover that the universe moves with you. In that motion lies the truth of faith. Faith that is not spoken but lived, not imagined but demonstrated. Action is the highest form of prayer, the purest expression of belief, and the only path to mastery. Detachment gives birth to mastery. It is the quiet force that turns chaos into clarity, AR into faith, and desperation into dominion. To act with detachment is to move with the calm assurance of one who knows that outcomes do not define him, that his worth and his peace are anchored not in what happens, but in who he becomes through what happens. Detachment is not indifference. It is spiritual control. It is the art of standing in the midst of storms without losing your inner stillness, of working toward great goals without being enslaved by them. It is the freedom to act from purpose rather than from panic, from conviction rather than from craving. The man who acts with attachment is bound to results. His emotions rise and fall with every outcome. When things go his way, he calls himself successful. When they don't, he questions his worth. Such a man is a slave not to others, but to his own expectations. He cannot sustain greatness because his spirit is tied to what is temporary. But the man who acts with detachment moves with divine power. He knows that results are not his to control, only his effort, his integrity, and his direction. He acts and then he releases. He gives his best and leaves the rest to the laws that govern the universe. To be detached is not to stop caring, it is to care wisely. It is to understand that clinging destroys what you seek to create. When you act from desperation, you choke your own potential. You send a message to the infinite that you do not trust its process, that you must force results instead of aligning with them. But when you act from detachment, you demonstrate faith. You declare, I will do my part, and I will trust the universal intelligence to do its own. That declaration releases you from anxiety, and in that release, your power multiplies. Detachment is the soil where mastery grows. The mind that is calm can see clearly, and only clarity can command creation. When your emotions rule you, your energy becomes scattered. When your spirit governs you, your energy becomes directed. The detached man is never frantic, he is focused. He moves with quiet strength, not because he is immune to emotion, but because he has learned to master it. He understands that emotion is a tool, not a master, and that true power lies in its disciplined use. There is a higher intelligence within you that can only express itself when you are not bound by the noise of reaction. When you detach emotionally from results, you open the door for this intelligence to guide you. You begin to receive intuitive impulses, creative insights, and inspired ideas that cannot reach a mind clouded by desperation. Detachment is not apathy, it is awareness. It is the clarity that allows divine direction to flow through you unobstructed. When you take action with detachment, you do not act to prove, you act to express. You are not performing for validation, you are fulfilling your design. You are not trying to convince the world of your worth, you are revealing the worth that already is. That kind of action carries power because T is pure. The energy of detachment is magnetic. It attracts success because it is not chasing it. It is confident, composed, and certain that what is meant will find its way in divine order. Attachment breeds fear because it is born of insecurity. You cling because you fear loss. You strive because you fear failure. You worry because you doubt the law of compensation. But the one who acts with detachment understands that nothing truly his can ever be taken, and nothing not his can ever stay. He moves through life not with tension, but with trust. He is not driven by the need to possess, but by the desire to progress. He does not live for the applause of men, but for alignment with truth. When you master detachment, you no longer need life to go your way to feel peace. You are peaceful because you are rooted in principle, not in condition. You understand that the seasons of success and setback are both necessary for growth. You accept both with gratitude because both refine you. This acceptance is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the mark of a soul that has transcended reaction and entered into dominion. The man who can act without attachment cannot be defeated. Even when he fails, he learns. Even when he loses, he grows. Even when he falls, he rises stronger. Why? Because his identity is not tied to outcomes. It is anchored in purpose. He does not measure success by the harvest he reaps, but by the seeds he sows. He is not swayed by the praise or criticism of others, for he knows that both are fleeting winds that cannot alter truth. Detachment transforms your relationship with time. When you are attached, you rush. You want results now, and that impatience disrupts your creative rhythm. But when you detach, you work with the patience of one who knows that the law of gestation governs all creation. You do not dig up your seed to see if it is growing. You trust that it will because you have done your part. That trust creates a serenity that accelerates manifestation, because energy flows best where it is not forced. To force yourself to act with detachment is to enter the realm of mastery. You may not feel calm at first, your emotions will resist, the mind will cry out for certainty, but persistence will tame it. Each time you act without emotional dependence on the outcome, you strengthen your spiritual muscle. Eventually, you will reach a point where your peace remains undisturbed, no matter what happens externally. And when peace becomes your default state, clarity and power follow naturally. The detached man is not emotionless, he simply refuses to be governed by emotion. He can love deeply without clinging, strive passionately without obsessing, and work diligently without worrying. His actions are expressions of purpose, not reactions to fear. He does not suppress his emotions, he observes them, understands them, and then directs them toward creation. This is true mastery, to feel everything yet remain unmoved by anything that does not see. Rev your purpose. Detachment also sharpens intuition. When you are calm, your inner voice speaks louder. You begin to sense timing, opportunities, and directions that others miss because they are blinded by desire or fear. Detachment connects you to the rhythm of divine timing, where you no longer chase opportunities. They flow to you. You become a magnet for the right people, the right moments, and the right circumstances because your energy is no longer chaotic. It is aligned. In detachment, there is freedom, and in freedom, there is power. The man who is free from attachment cannot be manipulated, cannot be broken, and cannot be swayed by temporary conditions. His confidence is not built on success, it is built on understanding. He knows that he is the cause, not the effect, and therefore he does not panic when appearances seem unfavorable. He knows that his consistent, detached action will eventually shift the external world to match his inner state. There is divine law in motion at all times. When you act with detachment, you align with that law. You no longer fight against the flow of life, you move with it. You no longer demand instant gratification, you trust perfect timing. You no longer cling to results, you focus on refinement. And in doing so, you rise above the realm of ordinary men and step into the consciousness of mastery. To live detached is to live free, to move boldly yet peacefully, to strive without strain, to achieve without anxiety. It is to stand in the center of creation as a calm conductor of divine power, directing energy rather than being directed by it. That is where your highest potential lives, not in the noise of desire, but in the silence of knowing. When you reach that state, every action you take carries the weight of wisdom and the authority of faith. Detachment is not withdrawal from life, it is full engagement with it, minus the bondage of fear. It is to act with full passion yet perfect peace. It is to give everything and expect nothing, knowing that what must come will come. And when it comes, you will receive it with gratitude, not greed. For you will have already found your victory, not in the outcome, but in the mastery of yourself. Procrastination is spiritual decay. It is the silent killer of dreams, the invisible rust that eats away at the machinery of purpose. It does not destroy suddenly. It corrodes gradually, one delayed decision at a time, one postponed effort, one tomorrow whispered too often. The man who procrastinates deceives himself, believing he has time when in truth time has him. Each hour lost to hesitation is an offering to failure. Every moment of delay weakens the invisible bridge between desire and destiny. Life does not wait for the uncertain. The universe responds to movement, and when you stop moving, it stops responding. Procrastination is not a matter of laziness, it is a matter of fear. It is the subtle resistance of the spirit to its own greatness. You delay not because you cannot act, but because acting forces you to confront the truth about yourself. It demands responsibility. It demands courage. It demands that you stop hiding behind excuses and face the divine challenge of creation. The man who procrastinates does not escape his duty. He merely postpones the pain of regret. And that pain, when it comes, is heavier than any burden of effort he tried to avoid. To procrastinate is to drift away from divine timing. There are moments in life when the infinite opens doors that may never open again. Those moments are sacred. They appear when your faith is high and your energy is aligned with opportunity. But when you delay, the door closes, not as punishment, but as consequence. The rhythm of life is precise. If you do not move with it, you fall out of sync. You lose momentum, and with it, you lose power. The man who forces himself to act, even in confusion or fear, stays aligned with that rhythm. His motion invites guidance. The universe does not demand perfection from you, it demands participation. You are not required to know every step before you move, you are only required to move. The act of movement itself reveals the path. But procrastination blinds you to revelation. When you stand still, clarity withers. The light of intuition fades because it only shines on those who are walking forward. Procrastination is spiritual paralysis, a denial of the divine energy that flows through you. You were not created to stagnate. The very essence of life is motion. The stars move, the seas move, the wind moves, the heart beats. Nothing alive remains still. When you procrastinate, you resist the current of creation and imprison yourself in self-made limitation. You tell life, I do not trust your timing. I do not believe in my power. And life, ever obedient to your belief, responds, then I will wait until you do. Each time you delay what your spirit urges you to do, you diminish your inner authority. Your mind grows weaker, your will softer, your faith thinner. You begin to lose trust in yourself, and once that trust is gone, even divine inspiration cannot move you. You become a slave to the habit of waiting. The habit hardens like chains until you can no longer distinguish between rest and resistance. The tragedy of procrastination is that it disguises itself as rational thought. It convinces you that delay is preparation, that you are simply waiting for the right time, the right feeling, the right sign. But there is no sign greater than the inner voice that says, do it now. That voice is the whisper of infinite intelligence calling you to act. Every time you ignore it, its volume fades. Every time you obey it, its strength multiplies. Action is the amplifier of divine guidance. Procrastination is its silencer. You must understand that delay is not neutral. It is regressive. Energy unused becomes energy lost. The creative power within you requires motion to remain alive. The moment you stop acting toward your pose, that energy begins to decay. Inspiration fades, enthusiasm dies, and passion turns into self-doubt. Then the mind invents new justifications for inaction. I'm not ready. I'll start next week. I need to think it through. But you have thought enough. You are not suffering from lack of knowledge. You are suffering from lack of obedience to what you already know. Every great soul that has walked this earth has understood one truth. Nothing changes until you act. Thought is divine, but it is powerless until expressed through action. The greatest idea in the world remains worthless until someone dares to give it form. The man who waits for motivation to act will die waiting, for motivation is born of movement, not the other way around. You must move first. The fire comes later. The universe rewards initiative, not intention. When you procrastinate, you are not saving time, you are trading it for mediocrity. You are exchanging the wealth of progress for the poverty of comfort. There is no neutral ground. You are either advancing or retreating. The mind that delays action invites confusion, for indecision is the breeding ground of doubt. Doubt is not the absence of faith. It is faith misdirected toward failure. When you procrastinate, you place your faith in fear instead of purpose. You believe in your limitations more than your potential. To overcome procrastination, you must become emotionally and spiritually detached from the outcome. Fear thrives on attachment. It feeds on the need for everything to go perfectly. The man who acts without attachment to results is immune to procrastination because his only concern is obedience to purpose. He knows that action itself is victory. He trusts that the process will unfold as it should. That trust frees him from hesitation, for he no longer acts for success. He acts because action is his duty to the divine within him. Force yourself to act, especially when your emotions resist. The resistance you feel is not a signal to stop. It is the evidence that transformation is near. Every great step forward feels uncomfortable because it demands the death of your old self. Procrastination protects comfort. Action protects destiny. Each time you push through the weight of delay, you strengthen your inner command. You teach your mind to obey your spirit. And when the mind obeys the spirit, all things become possible. Procrastination is the habit of fear disguised as patience. True patience is active. It moves with faith and trust in divine timing. False patience waits idly, hoping time will do what only courage can. You must know the difference. The man of wisdom waits only when delay serves purpose. The man of weakness waits because delay serves fear. The former grows in stillness, the latter decays in silence. The moment you decide to act, the entire structure of your reality begins to shift. You awaken forces within and around you that were dormant. The energy of life responds instantly to the vibration of decision. What once seemed impossible begins to yield. What once was distant begins to approach. This is not coincidence, it is law. The law of cause and effect is not partial. It rewards all who move and punishes all who postpone. The remedy for procrastination is not merely discipline, it is devotion. Devotion to purpose, to truth, to the voice within that commands you to rise. When your purpose becomes sacred to you, delay becomes impossible. You will not wait for the right moment. You will make the moment right. You will not ask for signs. You will become the sign. That is the power of a soul awakened by conviction. Hebrew. The man who overcomes procrastination lives as an agent of divine order. His movements are deliberate, his choices decisive, his energy focused. He does not waste time because he knows time is sacred. Each day, each hour, each breath is an opportunity to serve his higher calling. He moves not because he must, but because he cannot do otherwise. Movement becomes his nature, and through that nature he commands life itself. Procrastination is death disguised as comfort. Action is life made visible. Choose life, choose movement, choose the divine rhythm of progress that never stops, never waits, never hesitates. Force yourself to act now, for now is all that ever truly exists. Emotion must serve, not rule. This is one of the highest truths a man must learn if he desires mastery over life, over destiny, and over himself. Emotion is a powerful servant, but a tyrannical master. It was never designed to lead you. It was designed to fuel you. When you allow emotion to dictate your direction, you become unstable, tossed by every change in circumstance, swayed by every whisper of doubt, and enslaved to every fleeting desire. But when you take command of emotion, you discover that it is not your enemy, it is your energy. The force that once controlled you becomes the fire that empowers you. Every man is born with emotion. It is part of the divine mechanism of creation. Emotion gives color to experience, passion to purpose, and energy to effort. But the tragedy of the undisciplined mind is that it confuses emotion with truth. Emotion is a reflection, not a revelation. It reflects what you believe, what you think, and what you focus on. If you allow it to rule, it will imprison you in illusion. But when you rise above it, you gain the power to direct your destiny with precision and peace. There are people who are driven by how they feel. If they feel inspired, they act. If they feel fearful, they retreat. If they feel tired, they stop. Their lives rise and fall with their moods. Such a person cannot build greatness, for greatness demands consistency. Consistency requires that you act according to decision, not emotion. The man who acts only when he feels like it remains forever a slave to feeling. But the man who acts because it is right, because it is necessary, because it is his duty, becomes unshakable. Emotions are like the winds, always mow. Ving, always changing. You cannot control the winds, but you can control your sails. When you discipline your inner state, you harness emotion as power rather than chaos. The man who commands his emotions commands his world. He is not cold or indifferent, he is centered. He feels deeply, yet he is never lost in feeling. He channels emotion toward purpose, turning it into momentum instead of allowing it to turn into confusion. To rule over emotion is to become a master of vibration. Emotion is energy in motion. It is what gives life to thought and thought to action. But energy without control is destruction. Fire can cook or burn. Water can nourish or drown. Wind can refresh or devastate. Likewise, emotion can build your destiny or destroy it. You must decide which. The one who governs his emotions becomes a creator. The one who obeys them becomes a victim. Understand that emotion is not truth. It is feedback. It reveals your state of consciousness. When you feel fear, it means your thoughts are misaligned with faith. When you feel anger, it means your expectations are in conflict with reality. When you feel despair, it means you have lost connection with purpose. Do not hate these emotions, study them. They are signals, not sentences. They are meant to inform you, not imprison you. The wise man observes his emotions without being ruled by them, for he knows that emotions are temporary visitors, not eternal truths. The secret to mastery lies in learning to act in spite of emotion. not because of it. The highest power is calm action. It is the ability to move forward when fear screams, when doubt whispers, when pain burns. To act in calmness is to affirm faith over feeling. This calmness is not apathy, it is spiritual certainty. It is the inner knowing that truth does not change because emotion fluctuates. It is the strength to say, my feelings may tremble, but my purpose stands firm. When emotion rules, clarity disappears. The man overwhelmed by emotion cannot think clearly, cannot see truth, cannot hear the voice of divine guidance. Emotion clouds perception and magnifies illusion. But when you detach from emotional chaos, you open the channel for wisdom. In stillness, you see what passion conceals. In calmness, you hear what noise distorts. In discipline, you receive what distraction denies. To master emotion, you must first accept responsibility for it. No one makes you angry, fearful, or anxious. You generate these states within yourself through interpretation and reaction. The power to feel is within you. Therefore, the power to transform feeling is also within you. When you say, they made me feel this way, you surrender your power. But when you say, I choose how I respond, you reclaim it. That is the beginning of emotional freedom. There is divine intelligence in every emotion, even the uncomfortable ones. Fear warns of danger, sadness reveals attachment, anger exposes imbalance. But wisdom lies not in resisting them, but in understanding them. Once you understand the message, you release the emotion. Those who repress emotions become rigid and bitter. Those who indulge them become erratic and weak. But those who observe, learn, and redirect them become powerful. Emotional mastery does not mean suppression. It means sublimation. It means converting emotion into purpose. The energy of fear can be turned into focus. The energy of anger can be turned into drive. The energy of sorrow can be turned into compassion. The energy of passion can be turned into creation. The alchemist of life is the one who transforms his emotions into progress. He never wastes emotional energy on complaint or worry. He converts every inner storm into spiritual fuel. Every great achievement was built on this principle. The builder who works through exhaustion, the leader who decides through pressure, the creator who persists through uncertainty, all have mastered emotion. They feel what others feel, but they act while others hesitate. They understand that emotion can accompany them, but it cannot command them. They have trained their minds to obey purpose, not mood. Emotion is sacred, but it must bow to will. The infinite gave you emotion to experience life, but it gave you will to direct it. The will is the charioteer, emotion is the horse. If the horse leads, chaos follows. If the charioteer leads, destiny is achieved. Most people live their lives being pulled by the wild horses of emotion, reacting, regretting, repeating. But the master tightens the reins. He does not fight emotion, he guides it. He lets it move, but always in the direction of his purpose. To cultivate this mastery, you must train daily. Begin by observing your reactions. Notice when emotion tries to pull you from alignment. Pause before responding. In that pause lies your power. The undisciplined man reacts, the master chooses. The undisciplined man speaks in anger, the master speaks in awareness. The undisciplined man quits in frustration, the master acts through fatigue. Each moment you choose awareness over reaction, you grow in strength. Each time you act from principle rather than passion, you build inner dominion. There will be times when emotion feels overwhelming, when storms rise and your heart trembles. In those moments, do not fight the storm, anchor yourself in purpose. The storm will pass, your purpose will remain. Remember, emotion is temporary, but truth is eternal. The man who knows his purpose cannot be lost, for his compass is fixed. Emotion may cloud the sky, but he trusts that the sun of truth still shines above the clouds. When emotion becomes your servant, you can move mountains. You will speak with authority, work with persistence, and live with peace. You will no longer need to feel good to do good. You will do good, and in doing so, you will feel great. Your power will no longer depend on external moods or internal swings. It will flow from the steady current of spiritual discipline. Hebrew, to let emotions serve. E is to reclaim divine order. It is to restore the balance between feeling and faith, between passion and principle, between impulse and intention. The one who achieves this balance becomes unstoppable, for nothing outside of him can move what is governed within. Emotion bows to him, energy obeys him, and destiny yields to his command. A broken emotion must serve, not rule. For only when the heart is calm, the mind clear, and the will firm does man step into his true inheritance, the power to create his world by design, not by reaction. When you reach that state, you no longer chase peace. You become peace. You no longer seek control. You are control. And from that mastery, all creation flows effortlessly through you. The truth of all power, all growth, and all fulfillment is this: life responds only to movement, and movement guided by purpose becomes divine. The man who forces himself to act, who disciplines his emotions, detaches from results, and refuses the poison of procrastination, becomes a vessel through which the infinite expresses its will. Action is faith made visible, and faith is the highest proof of alignment with divine law. To live by principle rather than by feeling is to transcend limitation. To act without emotional bondage is to touch freedom. To persist without attachment is to taste eternity. The universe bends to those who move with conviction. Every law, every opportunity, every unseen force begins to conspire with the one who dares to obey the command of purpose. Fear, doubt, and delay cannot withstand the man who acts in truth. For when he moves, the very current of creation moves with him. He becomes more than a thinker. He becomes a creator, a channel of divine energy shaping reality through the strength of his will. So rise and act, not because the world believes in you, but because you believe in the law that governs all creation. That thought without action is stillborn, emotion without discipline is chaos, and faith without movement is death. Compel yourself to act. Do it while afraid. Do it while uncertain. Do it until movement becomes your nature and purpose your peace. Then you will no longer chase destiny. You will embody it. You will no longer wait for signs. You will become the sign. And in that mastery of self, you will know the highest truth, that heaven itself assists the man who dares to act.